Inconstant Worlds is a meta-disjointed journey through the Dark Tower series by Stephen King. I'm Kat, she, her, and I forgot to share my news last time we recorded an episode, which is that I got Black Parade tickets finally. Well, ticket.
Yeah.
I got a ticket. Fuck yeah. I'm in the middle of a sea of people, but I get to go. Fuck you, Ticketmaster. You literally made it the hardest thing in the world. And also to all of the scalpers out there, if you happen to be listening to this, may your pillow never be cool.
May your socks always, like, whenever you put on a fresh pair, puddle.
And they droop.
Yeah. Oh. Oh, that is like 10th level curse.
There is no reason whatsoever to charge $500 or $600 for tickets that I saw cost like $200. The only reason I couldn't have them was apparently Ticketmaster is opposed to single sales.
Yes.
I could not have a single ticket. I could buy 2 tickets not together, but I had to buy 2.
Yeah.
Which was the dumbest thing I think they could have come up with. Regardless, I saw the price of those tickets before, and fuck you, not in the good way.
I'm Taryn Naham, and I'm driving. Not going, but I am driving the getaway car. Because that's how you avoid parking.
That is how you avoid parking.
What's going to end up happening is I'm going to drop her off and then spend the next 3 hours doing one circle and then make it back around, and then the show will be over. But
so to all our Bay Area fans, we'll be there in July.
Yeah. It'll be July, and we'll be alone and separated, and you'll know exactly what day and time.
So we fully support content warnings and taking care of your own mental health. So here are the warnings for this book and thus this episode. I don't think I can do it in a single breath. There's so many.
Oh, it's okay. Yeah.
You know, I'm trying, but it's not going to be today. So we have child death, child abuse, death, blood, violence, animal death, death of a parent, murder, gore, domestic abuse, injury detail, physical abuse, body horror, grief, infidelity, rape, animal cruelty, substance use, car accident, homophobia, medical content, sexual violence, misogyny, suicide, bullying, emotional abuse, gun violence, sexual assault, fire, kidnapping, confinement, torture, stalking, pedophilia, racial slurs, cannibalism, and fatphobia. Whew.
You know, I don't think you do enough. I think you should alphabetize.
Fuck you. So, we read Salem's Lot from the prologue through part 1. Salem's Lot was released October 17th, 1975. Originally, it was titled Second Coming, and from King's website, he explains that the story of Dracula stuck with him, and he wondered what would happen if the Count showed up in a modern-day America. So here we have it, what he thinks would happen.
That's incredible release timing. 2 weeks before Halloween.
Yeah.
That's perfect. That's so smart.
The book starts with a writer, of course, as all King's stories do. There once was a writer, and he probably liked to drink.
And he was probably from Maine.
Most likely, yeah. So he is going back. This guy is Ben. This one's name is Ben. They're all, Stephen King, but this one's Ben. Going back to a small town he spent some time in when he was growing up, Jerusalem's Lot, named after a pig, because apparently pig names are a kingism. Misery the pig, now we've got Jerusalem the pig, whatever. Anyways, so Ben comes back to write a book. He is obsessive on the haunted house on the hill, a la Shirley Jackson. He meets a young woman named Susan, and they casually start dating. The town is going about their normal day-to-day, but Ben, along with 2 other out-of-towners who are starting up a fancy furniture store and bought, the haunted house, are, they are the subject of much scrutiny, because they ain't from round here.
They also bought, the haunted, terrible thing happened to your house.
Yeah.
I mean, they ain't from around here, but so...
Dog is brutally killed. A kid goes missing. Then his brother gets sick and eventually dies. Ben meets Susan's parents. Her dad likes him. Her mother doesn't. Frankly, her mother's kind of a see you next Tuesday. Anyways, so...
Her mom is an almond mom.
Shit is slowly turning up as the gravedigger gets freaked out while burying the boy that died. And then he seems sick. There's also a lot of bits with the members of the town, which I assume will come together later gradually. This section wraps up with the English teacher who invited Ben to speak to his class, inviting the gravedigger to his house to try and get some rest. But he hears in the middle of the night the gravedigger invites someone inside the house, and then the sound of a child's laughter. It is not, a tinkling, joyous noise. There's also a lot of there's 260 fucking pages here. There's a lot of stuff that happened. I was trying to just give you the highlights.
That was a really quick, interesting sum up. I feel like that's one of the fastest sum ups.
It honestly, I think it is. I think if I were to pull all of the episodes out, that would be the quickest one I've ever done.
Yeah, that's wild.
There's so
the trigger warning list was longer.
There's so many little things that happen, but it's it is details about the townspeople. There's a couple that's the mom is horribly abusive to her infant child.
Oh my lord, I know.
And then the dad finds out, and it sounds like he was gonna even up the field if he needed to.
He almost cared.
And then, there's just the constant harping on how young Susan is. Susan's so young. Susan is super young. We'll get to that. We're gonna get to that. The Dracula inspiration was very clear. I know as I was, reading it, I'm like, oh, okay. And then when I looked it up on the website and saw what his story behind it was, I was like, oh, okay, I wasn't wrong in picking up the things that he took from Dracula and brought in.
Copy had a foreword by him where he explains, I wonder if it's the same thing on the website, where he talks about being very influenced by Dracula, but also by pulp comics, and how differently they presented vampires, and kind of wanting to present the two, but then also present it in modern day America in New England.
As I was reading it, because I haven't actually read Dracula, but I did watch that Nosferatu remake. Anybody who doesn't know, when the original Nosferatu came out in the 30s, they actually got in trouble because they pretty much just ripped off Dracula. It was not yet in the public domain. It is now, but at that time it was not. So they couldn't do the things that they did because they basically changed some names, but did basically the same story.
But it wasn't Dracula.
Yeah,
it was Nosferatu.
Well,
was
to be
he
fair,
even a count?
He was a count. Yes, they changed some names.
They really didn't try.
And I can't remember what his actual name is because Nosferatu is the German word for
Orlok.
Orlok, yeah. So. They did change names, but you have a real estate agent going to some creepy dude's house, and it's the same thing. And we got that here too. We have a real estate guy, we have a shipping crate, and we have rats, and just it's really similar in that he took those elements. And then he has those straight up quote by Shirley Jackson. And I think that's part of what makes this book so good so far, because he had a really strong foundation and bones. So he was able to just kind of create the story around it rather than trying to come up with all of these things. He tapped into shit people have already likely have read or at least explored.
Well, that's also interesting too, if Nosferatu was kind of a plagiarized Dracula and then he's continuing that tradition. But it's also just turning it into, because Dracula is so much of the kind of folk tale that is vampires now. It's changed what vampires were into what they became. And then Anne Rice came along and changed the game. And then Twilight has changed it again. He's continuing that process of Nosferatu, Nosferatu kind of maybe took for granted that this is just the story and not a story, right? And now he's doing the same thing. And when you add in the Shirley Jackson story, he's trying to tell you, look, I'm stealing all of the... Well, I doubt he still obviously has permission for that. But...
Yeah. No, but it's true. So we've been playing split fiction, right?
Yeah.
And even we've been talking about the things that these two characters supposedly put into their work. Because obviously that's meant to be that way. Because that's the game. The game is meant to tap into those, like, things. But we have the area where one of the characters straight up makes a reference to Assassin's Creed. You always have to have faith when you leap. We know what that fucking is.
Yeah. The sonic loop.
The sonic loop. Well, and the entire red versus blue level, where they literally had us set up, like, the little characters and shit like that. It's all there, and I think that's what actually helps strengthen your story. Because in this, I feel like we finally got to see some of that strong use with language that Stephen King is capable of, because he did not have to futz around so much with building the dynamic, because I was really impressed with how well he fleshed out his town. And it was just because we went into this knowing this was going to be a vampire story.
Yeah.
So he doesn't necessarily have to build that tension. Even, maybe in 75 he did, before people knew it's a vampire story.
Yeah.
But I think he made an excellent roadmap for it, because he made Jerusalem's Lot a character just like he made the Overlook a character.
Yeah.
We finally get to see the strength of Stephen King as a writer himself.
I think you're right. I think, too, coming back to that idea of these are stories that people are familiar with. But obviously, Nosferatu and Dracula are very well known.
Wait for our Patreon exclusive on vampires. We will just go through vampires.
Yeah, sometime next year. Like,
coming to the internet near you eventually.
If it still exists next year.
We can even afford it.
I was trying to click on a link. It was somebody's profile, and it used to be that, like, you could see, like, the first page of somebody's... It wasn't, like... It was just a link to their thing. And you can't even look at it now. It's just like, oh, do you want to make an account? You should make an account. Do you want to sign in or make an account? You cannot even look... You can't see the posts. You can't see the profile. Like, not even... it's not like their profile. It's just like a page.
Yeah.
I was just trying to see if I knew who the person was, because they're in a podcast I was trying to look at. Can't look at it at all. They're like, you should make an account, though. And it's like, I will not. That's absolutely not happening.
Stocks are tanking. Back to
I'm sorry.
Salem's Lot. We do a lot of smack talking here. And we've had books that we both enjoyed and books that we hated. I will say so far, I am feeling really good about Salem's Lot. And because it's one of what I feel like is his best usages of language, I am impressed. And I think also his usage of all of the things that inspired him here. I also see how many other people that I read or have read were inspired specifically by this book.
Yeah.
The scene where the kid gets abducted and the brother is out there with him. You saw me reading Something is Killing the Children.
Yeah.
Which is an amazing comic and you should absolutely read it. The author of that, the writer, James Tynion IV?
That is fancy.
He had said before that Stephen King was an inspiration for him on this, and he had cited specifically it. One of the scenes that he wrote is really similar to that scene, where the little boy, one boy is telling his younger brother, there's, this creepy shit happening and you gotta be careful, and basically starts to freak himself out as he's doing it, and then they get, something happens to them. Well, in Something is Killing the Children, spoilers if you don't want it, it's in the first issue, but I'm gonna probably end up giving a spoiler for a little bit of the...
I want to make a guess.
Okay.
Does something kill the children?
Something does kill the children.
I fucking knew it!
But the first issue, the way you get introduced to this series is these boys are having a sleepover. You notice boys never call it a slumber party for some fucking reason? It's always a sleepover, but regardless.
Which is wild to me because slumbering sounds epic.
I know, right? Anyway, so they're having a sleepover and they're watching like something, and then eventually some of the boys turn to this one and they're like, hey, you know, tell us like a creepy story, because he's really good at telling scary stories. And so he starts to do it, but he swears up and down like, this is true, this is what happened. And he's basically saying that something spooky is out in the woods out behind his house. And he's like, yeah, you know, let's go out there and I'll show you, because he's trying to scare the other kids. And so they all go out there, and yeah, something kills the children. Except for him. He gets away. Now, he does not die like, you know, this boy, where the one who survived manages to eventually die. But the scene structure of that, of just the like, oh, now we're hearing stuff in the woods, and oh, I told such a like vivid story, even I'm freaked out now. Like, that is what I was picturing here. And I don't know if that was intentional, since he specifically cites it, but obviously this is very it-like.
Obviously, I can't speak to that comic, but for me, as the oldest of 4 kids, it was so real. Like, that is such a thing that it was just so real. Like, I never looked at my younger siblings and was like, oh, I fucking wish you didn't exist. But you definitely look at your younger siblings and you're like, fuck, I wish I didn't have to bring you. Like,
yeah.
And then
stop making your older children babysit your fucking kids.
Yeah. But also, because you're learning how to be humans with other humans.
Yeah.
And then sometimes you do fucked up shit around and to them, and...
No, like, it's true.
And it was just the most kid shit.
It's a thing kids do, because I can say, like, I have no younger siblings, but I remember when I was a kid, one of my friends did, and she was in that same boat of, oh, you have to take your younger sister with you. Every fucking time. And it's not like, you know, it's awful at the same time when you have, like, a 2-3 year age gap.
Yeah.
It starts to, you know, it's, sometimes you just want to be with your friend, not with your friend and their sister. And we did that to her sister. We freaked her out and then freaked ourselves out so badly. You know what? That's karma coming for you when you fuck around.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Sometimes friends do that to other friends who are their same age. Sometimes you just want time alone or time with another person.
Yeah.
That's normal human behavior. And yes, that is karma coming to bite you.
Yep.
Because that's not how you deal with your feelings.
No. It's a terrible idea. So many people have always talked really highly of Salem's Lot. That
including me.
It has restored some of my faith in people's judgment. Because people talk very highly of it. And honestly, I did not like it very much. So now, I don't know how I feel about The Stand. Because I was really nervous about The Stand. Now I'm like, so is The Stand good or is The Stand bad? Which thing is it going to be? It's so long. It could really be like it, or it could be good. I don't know. You know what? I am still looking forward to it regardless, because we get Randall Flagg as a legitimate, like, character.
Yeah.
Which will be kind of nice.
I am excited for that. A lot. I have mixed feelings about The Stand, because I'm excited, I'm nervous. I feel vindicated a little bit with Salem's Lot, because I've been really looking forward to it.
Yeah.
And I remembered it as very good. It's another one that I read. And this was one of the reasons as a teenager, Stephen King was like my favorite author. Like, that as someone who could not handle horror anything, I loved Stephen King so much.
Yeah.
The second I started reading this, which I remembered almost none of, it almost makes me wonder if there's like an abridged version or an edited version, because I remembered like next to none of this beginning section.
Yeah.
I mean, none of it. I don't know if I was just skipping through trying to get to Father Callahan because I knew I needed those bits or what. But, like, reading this portion, once I picked it up, I couldn't put it down.
Yeah.
It's so good, which is how I felt with The Shining and with Dr. Sleep. These are the books that really make me remember why I love Stephen King and make me understand why other people love Stephen King. it's never been gone back to. There's other books of his that have been gone back to.
Yeah.
But that one's like, no, it's perfect just how it is. Like,
I wonder if it's because that book is so fucking long, people forget, because 1,100 pages is no joke.
yeah.
Like, that is a lot of book to try and get through, and it's like, you're not going to remember when you're on page 700 what happened on page 5. It's so far back and so much other shit is happening.
Yeah.
You're just like over inundated with just material, which I think is something I was nervous he was going to get into with this, because he's showing us so many different people within Salem's Lot.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, here's this household, and it's like, okay, are you showing me the victims? Like, you are showing me a lot of people.
But it's so much, it's basically Belle's first song from Beauty and the Beast.
Yeah.
There are so many people that will never really come back, that don't really matter, but it's so much like, there goes the baker with his bread like always.
Yeah.
And you need it to set the stage for, like, the tragedy that's about to occur. Like, you have to understand where you're at to understand, like, it's the same as when he sets up Derry. You have to understand Derry to understand how this thing occurs here, right?
Yeah. Especially if you didn't grow up in a small town.
Yeah. But...
little town full of little people. Because she was a bitch. So I already mentioned that I didn't like Susan's mother. I fucking hate that woman. She acted so pissy about her daughter not planning to marry Floyd. It's like she already sold her daughter to this man.
Yeah, what the fuck is up with that?
Yeah, and like Susan's like fucking up her plans. It's just like, what? I can understand being protective. Ben is a stranger.
Yeah.
And he is older than her, but he's the same age as Floyd.
Yeah.
But Susan is an adult in her early 20s. Like, they keep harping on how young she is at the same time, but if I have understood the timeline right, she is like 24. She might be as young as 22, but she is in her early 20s. I get being protective of your kid, wanting to make sure they have a good life, but she just gets very weird about like, well, I thought you were going to marry Floyd. No one said that. You just decided it for some fucking reason, and then you're kind of obsessing on, like, well, are you going to talk to him?
Yeah.
She don't fucking owe that man jack shit.
Is it that you're worried she's not following, like, she's changing the plan that you had in your head?
Yeah.
Or is it that she slept with Floyd? Because I'm assuming.
Yeah.
And now you are concerned, well, but that's the man you slept with, so you have to marry him.
Yeah.
Or Lord knows what. Though I did want to point out, like, speaking of sleeping with people, the scene where she and Ben sleep together was very Sleepwalkers. This book is so, like, it's not exactly the same, but I do have, like...
it's very Sleepwalkers.
Yeah.
It is, like, it's not untrue. Stephen King has, like, 3 stories that he tells.
Yeah.
And this is it. This is Sleepwalkers.
Yeah.
And then it's also even got a little bit of The Shining going on. So
it does.
It's just
it does.
The Stephen King, like, trifecta of stories. Because, obviously in Sleepwalkers, Tanya's parents were very overprotective of her. But she actually was underage. She was still within their care. And, like, Susan lives at home with her parents. But it just doesn't come off so good. No. And it makes her mother seem like a bitch. Like, I wrote in my notes a couple of times, first, Susan's mom is a see you next Tuesday, only I didn't say it that way. And then Susan's mom is a bitch. And I had forgotten about the first one. But when I was glancing through to put together the recap, I saw it, I was like, oh, I wrote that twice, kind of. I got nicer. I progressively got nicer. Because Susan's mom also was, like, so rude at that dinner.
Yeah.
Like, again, I understand, like, oh yeah, this is an older man, to a point that, like, maybe we'd be concerned, but he is the exact same age as, or at least around the same age as Floyd. So obviously, that's not a problem for you. he is a stranger, but he has been nothing but polite, and he is putting in a lot of effort to show exactly who he is.
He's also kind of from around there and like knows them. I can't remember if I said it earlier, but like Almond Mom. Like she is that type of person. I think that she has an idea in her head of who and what Susan is supposed to be. So what's interesting about that is that there is, he really does have these themes and characters that he revisits often.
Yeah.
And
obviously Susan.
Yeah. Well, and Susanna. And Susan Delgado is who I got the names mixed up. Because there's Susanna, who is a much more important character in the Dark Tower, but there is Susan Delgado, who is the true love of Roland Deschain.
Yeah.
Who is, the hero, and it's clear, well, in the intro that I was talking about of the book, he talks about the fact that Ben decided he was going to be a hero.
Yeah.
So, no spoilers when I say that obviously Ben is the hero. Susan is I think we got through, I think he talks about it in the
he does.
That she is his sacrificed lover.
Yeah. So,
I think we have foreshadowing from that of what is probably going to happen to Susan.
Yeah. There is a, prologue where it sounds like it's Ben and one of the kids, I think I know which kid it's going to be. I think it's, Mark or something.
Yeah.
And they're the escapees from Salem's Lot. And it's just the two of them.
But the reason I bring that up is that Susan's aunt, which I don't think we've encountered her in The Gunslinger. I think that's not until book 4.
Mm-hmm.
So Susan's matron-like figure, Susan's aunt, is a very overprotective spinster.
Okay.
Who literally tries to sell her off. She does something kind of similar.
Yeah.
Well, we're not spoiler-free. I can kind of...
Yeah, we are not a spoiler-free podcast.
The mayor of their town literally is trying to take Susan on as his concubine because his wife can't have children.
Yeah.
So Susan is supposed to be going to do this role as a virgin, which doesn't work out after she meets Roland. And her aunt is the one who sets all this up and is fucking furious and very concerned when Roland starts coming around. It's very similar.
Okay.
And I think that's why, it's giving... Well, it would have given off those feelings anyways, but that sense of, well, are you sleeping with him? You already slept with Floyd. What are you doing?
Yeah.
It's the same sense.
Yeah. And
I almost feel like we're seeing shades of the same Stephen King who... He's the kind of dude who, NASA was you need 100 tampons for your period? Will that 100 in a week? He has no clue about these things, but is trying, I guess.
Well, and you know what's wild to me is that this book is dedicated to his daughter.
Yeah. I think Stephen King had an understanding that mothers would be concerned about their daughters sleeping with people, but didn't maybe in 1975 really understand why.
Yeah.
Or understand really. He might have got it by the time he wrote the 4th book, but he was so into that dynamic. That dynamic was so much a part of how he writes. He wrote it differently, though. It's like an old, dried-up virgin who's upset now because there's this young, beautiful woman that she's forced to... He writes that dynamic, too, of, the old one who's upset to see youth and everything. Taking, Either way, here, it feels much more like he just... He's trying so hard to write. He's trying to pass the Bechdel test, and he's failing. But he's trying... I give him points for trying. Because he's trying so hard. So
the other thing with Susan that I also mentioned is the way that they harp on her age, how young she is, all this stuff, and I,
Yeah.
Anyways, this is where we get to Ben is also kind of a bastard, because, again, if I've done my math right, Susan is 24-ish. I could have misunderstood, like, when the fire happened, which was the year she was born, in which case, because she has a bachelor's already, I assume she's at least 22. And from the way they talk, I don't think I'm wrong about her minimum being 22.
Yeah.
I'm almost positive she's 24. Anyways, they talk about how young she is and, she's over 18. When Ben first meets her, he sees her, like, hemming and hawing about going to talk to him because she recognizes him, right?
Yeah.
So he goes over and approaches her and confirms, yeah, nope, that's me. When he signs her book, he says, to the prettiest girl in the park, right? He does not find out until they go elsewhere to get a soda together, and that she is 7 years older than he estimated. He thought she was 7 years younger than she already was. And he wrote that in her book. He was taking her to a second location. Be creeped out by Ben.
Never go to a second location.
Certainly not with a man you met in the park. Don't do that. That's not safe. Stranger danger. I don't care if it is a famous author. We know what can happen with them now.
Well, hey, we didn't know in 1975, okay?
No, we didn't. But regardless, yeah, Ben's also kind of a creep. He was perfectly fine approaching what he believed to be a 17-year-old girl. If I'm right about her being 24, then he was fine with that. And God, I hope she is at least 24, because otherwise he was fine approaching a 15-year-old.
No, I think you're right, because I think he mentions 17, that he thought she was like 17.
Yeah.
Like, I do think that you've got the number right.
Okay. And he is a 33-year-old man. Okay? He's 33. He thought he was approaching a 17-year-old girl.
And 33 in 1975 looked like, especially... Have you noticed how many different kinds of cigarettes have been mentioned?
Yes.
Was Stephen King trying to quit smoking? Or was he getting paid? Or was he trying to get paid? You know what?
He did
get that back, bro.
He did get back to Pepsi. We did get Pepsi reference in this.
I absolutely fucking noticed. Did you? I don't think you probably saw. There is someone that I follow on Blue Sky who tweeted about staying at, like, a Las Vegas hotel, but it's a Pepsi kind of hotel, and all you want is a Coke. And I really had wanted to, I think they call it skeeting. I'm not calling it skeeting, because all I can hear is, like, what is it? Was it Lil Jon, Lil Wayne?
Oh, yeah.
Skeet.
Yeah.
While that's hilarious, all I would be able to do is go, skeet, motherfucker. Like, I can't. No, we're not doing that. Blue skying, whatever. I really had wanted to respond, like, I live in Reno. I'm always in the Pepsi of Las Vegas. But I didn't. I withheld, and now I'm just saying publicly now I'm just saying it with my voice.
Yeah, anywho.
Yeah, I did catch that we got a Pepsi reference again. I almost want to keep track of the different cigarettes and see if it's like a...
Yeah.
Like, if they're not from around there, they smoke, like, fancy cigarettes, and then if they are from around there, they smoke this kind, or, like, the ladies smoke this kind. And I mean, I don't think there's been mention of any Marlboros, which is, like, one of the only... I know Marlboros and I know Camels, and that's it.
Yeah.
Oh, and I will say, Parliament, I recognize the brand, but that's because I just assume that's what British people smoke. So,
well, lots of smoking's happening.
Yeah, but my point was, with how hard he drinks and smokes, 33 in 1975.
His skin is leather.
And she looks 7 years younger than she is. They must look like a dad and his daughter whenever they're out. And people are just looking at him like, oh, that's so cute.
Yeah.
Is it? Is it cute? Is it cute, Stephen King?
I was, you know what? I was also very proud of myself because I'm like, oh yeah, no, I found the right middle green vibes.
Oh my god, yes.
Like, I have channeled the Stephen King town, like, feel accurately. Because I could, like, the bar that they keep going to, like, obviously, you know what bar I mimicked the Lobster Shack after.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I could totally see Crabman behind that counter.
Yes.
And
Crabman
he's Del.
is Del.
Yeah, like, that's just, I nailed it. Because Camden is just any Stephen King small town, but filled with idiots instead of spooky things.
It's this place.
Yeah.
It is a Stephen King small town 10 years before the spooky shit hits.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
It's the pre-spooky shit.
Yeah.
It's like the generation before.
Which I guess we should probably talk about what happened at the house that is haunted.
So the plot?
I mean, probably. I assume it's gonna, like, make more sense eventually. So, like, gangster lived there, killed his wife, and then hung himself? I'm not certain if he actually did it, though. I'm so confused.
I don't know. Yeah,
like,
was he just trying to feed off of children's fear?
Yeah, and, like, is this like, because I know that in the book they talk about evil places. And obviously that's what we get with, like, the house on Neibolt Street. Is this, like, obviously this was before it, so is this early Neibolt Street house?
Is it another...
The Overlook. So, the Overlook, Neibolt Street, now Marston House, where there is just evil things happening. Because Ben had gone up there as a kid to, like, show he was brave, because this is what you do as kids, and you know what? Yeah, you dare each other to do stupid shit.
The dumbest.
And he swears that he saw the man who hung himself. Now, he also was willing to go, like, I was a kid, and, like, maybe I didn't see that, but I believe that I did.
Well, and more detail. He's giving more details.
Yeah.
That maybe happened when he was a kid, maybe got added as he dreamed about it, but have haunted him since.
And he is obsessed with staring at it the same way that, like, any of the characters start to become obsessed with certain things, you know? Jack started to become obsessed with the Overlook. The house on Neibolt Street, I would say, like, once they figured out what was wrong with it, they kind of, like, it became a focus for the kids to, like, deal with this place.
It's like it's calling to them.
Yes. It is just this, like, nexus of evil.
Mm-hmm. And now a couple of Eurogays have moved into it, and, you know...
They will have fancy parties.
They're gonna try to have fancy parties, but nobody's gonna come to them.
Yeah.
Nobody trusts them.
Minnie and Connie will go. They have shells. They cannot be, like, bled.
Minnie and Connie will go to the parties where they're absolutely serving lobster.
Yeah, probably. They're daring.
Actually, they might not be. They might be vegetarian parties. Obviously, those are the vampires, and I do think... I think that's part of why this book is working the way that it is. Because he is referencing things that are so familiar to the public conscience. Like we knew when Straker showed up, who has a name that's very... It's almost just Stoker. We knew when Straker showed up, oh, this is the Igor or whatever. Like, you're Nicholas Hoult. Like, we know who you are. Because we're so familiar with this story, and I would assume in 1975 they are as well. Like, I don't think in the last 50 years we've become... It's been 50 years since 1975. Oh my god, like this year it's been.
Yeah.
Oh my lord. Ugh. But I don't think in that amount of time we've become more familiar. Like, I think it's just that we've got Nicholas Hoult, but...
To be clear, because we mentioned Nosferatu, we're talking about Nicholas Hoult in Renfield.
Oh, yeah. Thank you.
As Renfield. Not Nicholas Hoult in Nosferatu as Thomas, I think is his character's name.
I haven't watched Nosferatu yet, but I couldn't remember the word Renfield, and that's why I kept saying Nicholas Hoult just now. So thank you.
Yeah, I just wanted to... You know what? He's a great actor.
I forgot Nicholas Hoult was in Nosferatu because I haven't seen it.
Yeah.
So thank you. But you know he's the Renfield who can travel by day, who can do those things. You don't need that setup if you know it's about vampires. And if you don't know it's about vampires, when a creepy dude whose name sounds a bit like Stoker shows up, and then now there's a coffin, and that, like, as these things happen, I think you would get a pretty good idea.
Yeah.
But I think I want so badly for it to also kind of be like, it's not, like, I do like that the kid is who is the first, like, confirmed vampire, and I do kind of want it to turn out to be somebody in town. Because, obviously, that house has been there.
Yes.
And these guys are from Europe. They just showed up.
Yeah.
The Euro gays just showed up. And I do kind of really want it to be like, oh, you just didn't trust the Euro gays. I know I keep saying that. They say that they think they might be gay in the book. I'm not putting...
Yeah, they make references that they seem as though they are likely involved with each other.
And they kind of say it a little bit respectfully, quite frankly. I am saying that because it's referenced in the book and because I probably would say it anyway. It's just not this. I would love for that to end up being a misdirect.
Right?
We know it won't be.
That's what I keep hoping
no
too.
Fucking way.
Turns out it's Floyd. Or it's Anne.
Right?
It's her fucking mother.
Right? I am wondering. I don't remember this book enough.
Yeah.
So anything that I throw out, for what it's worth, I don't fucking remember. I'm wondering, because the kid was in good shape. He must have been drinking off of somebody or something before he popped out of the coffin, don't you think?
I mean, possibly.
And it's the way that the dad was like, I'm, like, you come out, you stop doing this now. But the mom also was, like, veiled and everything. So heavily veiled, and then fainted. One might do that if both of their children had died terribly.
Yeah.
Or, I can't remember if one of the kids is just missing.
One of the kids is technically just missing, though one of the guys who was delivering the crate to the basement did see, like, the clothes that matched the kid's description from that day. And he did tell his boss, who basically said, you didn't see nothing.
Yeah.
Because real estate agents are parasites.
Yeah. There are a lot of situations where you don't snitch. I don't think that extends to anything to do with dead or hurt children.
Yeah.
Snitches get stitches, but you take stitches for children.
Yeah.
That is different.
Well, especially because he was doing it for his payout. Yeah. He didn't, it wasn't like anything beyond, but if I let you go and tell this to the sheriff or the deputies or whoever, my business deal's going to fall through. I made a deal that said I wouldn't say shit and I would make things right. And as one of the wealthiest people in this town, I am one of the more influential people. Yeah. I get your shit done. And he buried it. He just buried it. And he got wealthy doing shady, awful shit. Yeah. It's never enough for these people. We'll find out more about him, I'm sure. Yeah. Because he's not dead yet. Nope. And I can't... Stephen King wouldn't leave him alive. No, probably not. But, yeah, the way that she is so heavily veiled, and Callahan makes the point of saying that her face looked like cottage cheese through the veil, so very pale, and faints dead away. And the dad says, I know you're still alive, and, like, quit doing this. Quit doing this to your mother. Yes. So, is he feeding off both parents? Was he feeding off the mom? Was he feeding off the dad? Or was it none of the above? And but it's just the fact that he comes out at night and then comes in through the window. Could he have been, while they're waiting for the funeral, coming in at night and feeding on his parents? Maybe. And basically saying, like, oh, this is
I'm not really dead. Because, like, when you're deep in grief, you do crazy shit. Like,
yeah.
Whew, I don't know, man.
I guess we will find out. So, last time, we pulled the Page of Swords, which is full of energy and ideas, and suggests a new form of communication.
Hey, you remember how I said we never pull Pinnacle cards?
Yeah.
This is the 8 of Pentacles.
Ooh, the 8. We get the 7 a lot.
It's 8, right?
Yeah, that's 8.
Yeah. So I just can't believe I literally just was talking about how we never pull Pinnacle cards. And then I did what I usually do. I cut the deck. I pulled with my left hand, and I pulled a 8 of Pentacles. It's like a gentleman to me wearing red hose and a working apron over a blue tunic there are 6 Pentacles, like 5 are on a tree, 1 is leaning up against the workbench, 1 is on the ground, and the gentleman who was working is currently chiseling a pentagram onto the last pentacle. So it's being finished. So I wonder if this will have something to do with work or studiousness or I don't know. It's just, that's a interesting image. And a completely clear sky, nothing above them. There's so much empty space on this card, which is also really weird. They're not even a cloud.
Well, so the Suit of Pentacles is associated with Earth.
Okay.
Specifically, so that might be why.
But they could have had branches coming out to put some of these pentacles on. It is just interesting how I think it would be negative space because there's nothing in it.
Yeah.
I'm not an art person, but...
No. I think that's valid. I'm just saying, like, for what it is worth, I think that might have something to do with the fact that it's about, like, pentacles are about earth and about worldly possession, which is why they're pentacles. They're coins a lot of times. It's the interchangeable thing.
Yeah.
It's about money very often.
So, I would say with card is about an artisan making his money.
So the 8 refers to mastery of a skill. Usually in isolation from others, it implies hard, tedious work and encourages seeking help.
Hey, look at me learning a thing. And that actually makes a lot of sense because he's way out in the middle of nowhere with the city far out in the background.
And Ben is sequestering himself in an attic to work on his book.
And the Eurogays are sequestering themselves in that house to work on getting lots of blood, I'm assuming.
So...
Everybody's doing it right now.
Yep. So we are going to be reading part 2 for the next episode. If you are reading along with us and not just listening to our dumbasses trying to recap it, because Lord knows you're missing some things.
There's whole characters that we haven't touched
we didn't
on.
even discuss them.
We didn't talk about Weasel.
Yeah.
But
either way, reading part 2. We are no longer, I put this at the end of the last episode, we are no longer on any social media platform other than Blue Sky. So... if you would like to follow us there. But this is the, also official announcement, I guess. If you're finding us anyplace else, it ain't us.
Could you imagine somebody decides to, pretend to be us somewhere else? I guess have at it. Thanks for the advertising?
I mean, maybe. I think it depends on what shenanigans they get up to.
Well, if they're bad, we've made it very clear it's not us.
Yeah.
And if it's good, even if it's bad, there's no such thing as bad advertising because we've made it very clear it's not us.
Yeah, it's true.
We only are on Blue Sky.
We are only on Blue Sky.
So, are we... let me try and... Go on. There are other worlds than these.
Hey lobsters, if you just can't get enough of us or want to see the shenanigans of Minnie and Connie, the mini constant lobsters, you can follow us on Blue Sky or check out our Patreon. On Patreon, you can follow us for free and get access to all of our movie watch throughs, in case you really wanted to know what it was like to have us in the room with you, really wishing we'd be quiet so you could watch the damn movie. Okay, bye.